32 teams enter tonight with a dream of a Chicago Public League City title, but by the end of tonight, only 16 teams will still have hope for one at the end of next week. City playoff Lane Tech girls volleyball is on the air as the number 29 seeded Steinmetz Silver Streaks look for an upset win over the 4th seeded Lane Tech champions here on a late Tuesday night from Roscoe Village. Thanks so much for joining us. My name's Alex Persing above midcourt here at Lane Gymnasium for what should be a fun one. I'll be a little bit late of a matchup between Lane Tech and Steinmetz, originally set for a 6 p.m. first serve. We're going to get going a little bit closer to 6:50. There were some travel issues with Steinmetz. JV game went quick game for Lane Tech, quick win over Solorio. We'll have more on that later. It was not a long JV game, just some travel issues, but either way, we are almost ready for some action, some playoff action for the first time this year from Lane Gymnasium. Been a really good day so far for Lane Tech on the playoff field. We'll have more on all the teams Lane Tech, all the playoff teams competing for Lane Tech here tonight. But first we have some more on volleyball as Lane Tech looks to get to round 2 of playoffs where they will, if they win, host another matchup on Thursday. And if they win that, they will have a quarterfinal matchup here next Monday. But first, looking at the present game, it's Lane Tech and Steinmetz. There's not a lot to go off of with these two teams. Steinmetz mostly only plays a conference schedule. They only have had 10 games this year, none against Lane Tech. And in recent history, there's not been a lot of games between these two teams. Looking back at Max Prep's records, which go back to 2007, no meetings between the Silver Streaks and Lane Tech, so these teams are not familiar with each other, but Lane Tech is going to be hoping they can adjust to this Steinmetz team. Lane Tech obviously comes in as the favorite on paper. They are the 4 seed, Steinmetz a 29 seed, but it's the playoffs, anything could happen, and the Silver Streaks hoping they can get a bit of an upset here on the road at Lane Gymnasium. As we take you down to the court, Steinmetz just doing some last-minute warm-ups here on the court. As we mentioned, they had a long journey to get here. It was originally supposed to start at 6 p.m. The game didn't end up. They didn't even start warm-ups until about 6:30, and now finally we are getting set with some volleyball action. As apologies, folks, just checking our audio levels real quickly to make sure everything is good to go for the broadcast. And I think it should be now. And yes, sorry folks, just checking that, but yes, our audio is good and we are almost ready for some playoff volleyball. So 2 minutes to go, we'll take you through the starting lineups for Lane Tech, which do look a little bit different than normal. We were not able to get the starting lineup for Steinmetz, but we will see that when they get announced on the court in just a second. So going from the left to right in the front row, it's going to be Amin Ahmad on the left-hand side. As an outside hitter in the middle, number 16, Kinsey Copenhaver, and on the right side, Olivia Crane, who, if I'm not mistaken, has been on the left side most this year. Head coach Norman Kwong going with a slightly different rotation than normal. They're going with the outside hitters are going to play all around. They're not going to substitute when they're on their offside. He wants to see how they can mix up their shots here in the first round of playoffs, so that is going to be a slightly different looking rotation for Lane Tech here tonight. Looking at the back row now for Lane Tech, both the Andersons from left to right. It'll be Claire Anderson in the back left, Brooke Anderson in the back center, and then to her right is going to be the star server on this team, number 10, Catherine Hong. Not sure who won the coin toss, however, if Lane Tech did, then it is going to be Hong serving her, trying to extend her team leading number of aces here tonight against Steinmetz. So those are going to be your 6 on the court, and then our libero for tonight, this is where the lineup gets a little bit different than normal. It's going to be Maggie O'Brien starting at libero, and I believe she's going to, it's going to be Maddie Gavaldin. Wrong, not Maggie. It's going to be Maddie Gavaldin, who will be our libero here tonight. She has a libero jersey on for, I believe, the first time this season. It's going to be Heidi Stauber, a scratch once again for tonight's game, and Sarah Thompson also not starting tonight. She might come in later, but those two who are the usual liberos for Lane Tech not playing to start off this city playoff run for Lane Tech. Instead, it's going to be Maddie Gavaldin as the libero. So we will see how that switches things up for Lane Tech. as both the teams are going to head to their benches now. They each had their 6 minutes of customary warm-ups before before first serve here at Lane Gymnasium. Lane Tech last year in the city playoffs made it to the semifinals before falling to Jones in straight sets, but it was a very big first round win for them. They took on Disney 2, who's actually in the same conference as this Steinmetz team, and just absolutely dominated 25-2, 25-3 in a 2-set victory. So Lane Tech hoping they can recreate something similar to that end here tonight. Obviously, it'll be pretty hard to have a win as big as that, just as it's always hard to win games by a combined score of 50-5, but we'll see what Lane Tech can do here. I'm not sure if we're going to have the national anthem here tonight or not. We do have a public address announcer, so we are going to have starting lineups on the court. However, our mic has not reached down there yet, so we're just going to read you the starting lineups as they give them on the court. Steinmetz is going to be dressed in their away green uniforms with some white lining and white numbers and letters here tonight on the right side of your screen. They will be serving to the left-hand side, and then Lane Tech in their home white jerseys. They will be going from left to right on your screen. I do not see anyone in a libero jersey for Steinmetz. We will see if that changes. If not, we might just have some trouble identifying that, and looks like we are doing a national anthem, so we'll turn to that right now and be right back. And just like that, it is almost time for some volleyball here at Lane Gymnasium, as we're going to meet the starting lineups on the court right now. First for the visiting Steinmetz Silver Streak, so we'll see as they get announced. First up, looks like it is going to be number 7, Catherine Valerio, number 3, Jessica Patino. You know, we'll get these as they get on the court of all of these folks, but we'll get you those starting lineups in a second. And as we mentioned, the 6 on the court for Lane Tech starting off tonight is going to be Ahmad, Copenhaver, Crane, Anderson, both the Andersons, and Hong, as Maddie Gavelden gets the start as the libero here tonight. And then just a quick look at how these two teams got here. It's been slightly different journeys for these two teams to get to the city playoffs. Lane Tech, being in the Chicago Public Super Conference, guaranteed a spot in the city playoffs, but they're a much lower seed than they would have liked. Whitney Young usually gets the number 1 seed, but Lane Tech was hoping to jockey for that 2 position this year, but losses to Jones, and then it kind of an upset loss to Payton drops them from the 2 seed to the 4 seed, so that's where Lane Tech will start off their journey, and it makes it a slightly tougher road to the city championship, because they will have to play against Whitney Young. We'll have more on that whole bracket later, but that's where Lane Tech is going to start things off. For Steinmetz, on the other hand, they are a 3 seed. They are the number 3 team out of the Chicago Public Green North Conference to make it to the city championship, to the city playoffs. That is behind Disney 2, who we mentioned Lane Tech swept in the first round last year, and Prosser. Those 2 teams finished respectively 9-1 and 8-2. Steinmetz finished 8-2 in conference play. So that's how all the numbers line up. So it was Prosser and Steinmetz tied for that 2nd spot. However, Steinmetz lost the game to Prosser, so they drop a 2 seeds, I believe, in the city bracket to number 29, where they will start off their journey here on this Tuesday night. It looks like it's going to be about a 6:55 first serve here from Roscoe Village. As we mentioned, a lot later than we were originally expecting, but we still should have some good volleyball action here on this Tuesday night, as both the teams on the court. Steinmetz gets set a little bit quicker, but Lane Sack will find their places in just a second here. First round action, 16 games across the city here tonight. All the 16 winners will compete in the round of 16, which is coming up on Thursday. And then on Monday, a week from yesterday, Lane Sack is going to compete. Lane Sack's going to hope to compete in the quarterfinals, which will take place, as you mentioned, next Monday. Looks like it's going to be Lane Sack serving here to start. It's going to be number 10, Catherine Hong, the server. Serving order today for Lane Sack, going from the top to the bottom. It'll be Catherine Hong in the 2 spot. I believe Olivia Crane in the 3 spot. Kinsey Copenhaver in the 4 spot. Addison Stoner in the 5 spot. Claire Anderson. And in the 6 spot, Maddie Gavaldon. As first serve from Catherine Hong is an ace. She continues her excellent year serving for Lane Sack. And her second is going to go for an ace again. And this is just the type of night Lane Sack is going to hope to have. As we mentioned, they come in as a big favorite in this matchup. And if they can have a quick night here, as third serve of the night goes into the net for Hong. But as you're mentioning, if this can be a quick matchup for the champions, that's obviously what they would like to see, as we'll see the first serve of the night from Steinmetz is a soft one, but Anderson there to get it done. Maud punches it over. Nice save there on the Steinmetz side of things. This one hit a little too far off the hands of number 11, Itzel Merlos. Nice try there from the Silver Streaks, but Lane Sack will get back their serve, and it will be Claire Anderson serving. So a little bit of a change here, it looks like, in the serving order for Lane Sack from what we originally had. As Gavaldon gets her first serve of the night, Copenhaver goes with the kill, bounces off the hands of 2 Steinmetz players, and finds the ground for the point to put Lane Sack up for the 1. Saw Hong get 2 points off her serve. Anderson hoping to at least match that mark here. She goes with the soft serve, sends the Steinmetz player to the ground, but Silver Streak's able to recover here. Lane Sack definitely has the size in this matchup, and we see that there as Olivia Crane sends this one pounding to the ground. I have a feeling if Lane Sack's able to work the ball to the outside here, that's where they're going to get the majority of the points here. They have the size and likely the strength in this one, so if they can get some powerful shots like that we have seen, like we just saw from Crane here, that's going to be an easy way for Lane Sack to score some points. As Anderson sends this one to the libero for the Silver Streaks. Hong with the front set. Crane again. Same exact thing. This time, number 9, Alina Kolenik got the touch on it, but unable to control it. And Lane Sack will go up 5 here, 6-1 in set number 1. Claire Anderson with 3 straight points off her serve. No aces yet. We'll see if she can get on serve number 4. This one is low, and just as we say it, she gets her first ace. That was a risky shot there from Anderson. Just either grazed the top of the tape or just went over the net for the point. But either way, it works, and Lane Sack will go up 7-1. It's a very similar start in the JV game here, as almost another ace for Anderson, but Steinmetz able to get it over Hong with the front set. Ahmad trying to find the outside. Once again, a diving stop there from Kolenik, but she's unable to fully control it, and Lane Sack will go up 7 here. It was Lane Sack versus Solorio in round 1 of the JV City playoffs, a 1 versus 16 match, and Lane Sack had no trouble, 25-8, 25-12, as Lane Sack will get another point here. And they're rolling. That one Steinmetz point early on in this one, but other than that, it has been all Lane Sack, which is kind of what we were expecting for this game. Lane Sack is going to hope to experiment with a couple new rotations and whatnot to see what can work best in the city playoff. As a nice shot there from number 14, Ania Harris. Anaya Harris just gets it over the net. Not sure if that was her intention to hit the top of the net, but either way it works. And Steinmetz will get back on the board 9-2 here. So this is just their second serve of the night. And they get it over the net cleanly. Ahmad going cross court. And that's a shot that she's been working on all year long. Early in the season, we saw some misses on that, but as of recent, she's been hammering that right to left side cross court kill. As she gets her second kill tonight, and the champions will go up 10-2. Kinsey Copenhaver back to serve. She goes to the middle of the court. Another reception error off the hands of Kalenik, and Lane goes up by 9 here. Despite the big lead, Lane's yet to lead by double digits here. They can do that if they get it. Here a score by Copenhaver, and she'll get the ace. So that's one ace now for every single player who has served for Lane Tech. We saw one from Catherine Hong, one from Claire Anderson, and now one for Kinsey Copenhaver. A very impressive job for the Lane Tech servers here. Copenhaver goes once again. This one's going to be returnable for the Silver Streaks. Punching it over there is Toledo. Front row Crane, and must have hit the net there. They're going to call her with the net violation. Came in with the big kill attempt there, but just a little bit off the mark to get Steinmetz back on the board. 12-3 here, early set one, round one of the city playoffs. Lane Tech taking on the Steinmetz Silver Streaks in a 29-4 seed match. An excellent serve there. Olivia Crane able to save it, and Maddie Gaffelton punches it over for the first time here tonight. And I think they're going to call a push there off of number 35, Alicia Toledo. Trying to set it to the outside there to LaBoy, who had a decent chance to get over the net. However, not before the whistle is blown, as we'll see Addison Stoner and Campbell Wild check into the game for Ahmad and Hong. Two nice starts for those two players, but now we'll see two new players into the game for Lane Tech. As Stoner, like that serve, she walked it off a little weird, but is able to get over. Now Wild with her first touch. Crane has to bump it over, but able to get a nice hit on it over the net. 10-point lead once again for Lane Tech. Stoner with her first set. Brooke Anderson played that one a little too high. Was a line drive, but gets lucky there off the touch from Kilenik. And champions will go up by 11 here. Their biggest lead of the night. Just a lucky touch there for Anderson, who's had a very impressive recent stretch for Lane Tech. Made her way onto the kills leaderboard and just has been playing very well near the end of this regular season and now start of the postseason. As a reception here off the hands of number 2, Guadalupe Giracelis. And that's been one of the main problems here early on for the Silver Streaks. They just have not been able to receive any of these serves from Lane Tech well, as another one is going to be a reception error from the back left row there for Steinmetz as the champions go up 16-3. As we mentioned, Lane Tech only gave up 2 points in their first set of the city playoffs last year, gave up 3 in the second set, so already not as dominating of a first set, as they're going to let that one come over after an interesting play off the net by number 23, Huertas, but Lane's going to be able to finish that. I believe that was Stoner on the kill. If it was, that would just be her 6th kill of the year. As she'll head back to serve once again. A good rotation here for Lane Tech, as this one, we jinx it as we say it, goes straight into net to give Steinmetz back their service. Checking back into the game for the Silver Streaks, the captain, number 9, Alina Kilneck, who's been on the receiving end of a lot of serves here. She's going to come into the game for number 8, Stephanie Aguiano. Not a super big hand on hand here for night number 1 of the postseason, as Olivia Crane from the right side gets over the net and finishes with the kill. I imagine might be a slightly bigger crowd on Thursday night. Lane Tech's going to likely be playing Lincoln Park which is obviously more of a rivalry game for Lane Tech. Lincoln Park playing up against Kenwood here tonight. At Stoner sets it to Anderson, looking for her second kill. Can't get it. A nice diving save there on the defensive end for the Silver Streak, but Anderson finishes the kill on her second try to put the champions up 13. Apologies, folks. We gave the last point to Lane Tech when it actually went to Steinmetz. As we'll see, checking back into the game, Catherine Valerio. So a lot of active substitutions here from Steinmetz. We cannot say as much for Lane Tech. I think they've only had one substitution here early on, mainly because they've had some long service rotations as Anderson finishes with her third kill of the night, second straight point with a kill. She's having another impressive night here. She's coming off a performance against Lindblom, where she had 3 kills, 2 total blocks, and 3 service aces as well. Something we have not seen from her a lot this year, mainly because she has not been in a serving role. As Anderson from the left side plays the soft shot, and this one just goes a little too short off the hands of Toledo, as Lane Tech reaches the 20-point mark for the first time here tonight. Just past 7 o'clock local time here in Roscoe Village. Sun set outside. Some soccer going on at Lane Stadium. As Toledo punches it over again. This time she's able to get it over the net. Stoner with the back set. Anderson finishes it again. That's been probably the most effective play Lane Tech has had all season long. You send Stoner, your top setter, to the middle circle. You take Anderson, who plays from the middle, roll her around to the right-hand side, and she finishes almost every single time. As Lane goes up 16, and we'll see an ace here from Olivia Crame. As Lane gets within 3 of what would be right now 20-point first set win. Crane looking for another ace, and she'll get it. Diving in at the last moment there was Giracelis. However, she was unable to get it over the net, went off her arms at a weird angle there, and ends up with the point for Lane. Crane again serves to the exact same location. Anderson there in the front row. Looked like some miscommunication there, possibly between Kalenix and Lavoie, as Lane moves to set point here in the first set, 24-25. Crane looking to finish the job here, plays this one to the middle off the hands of Valerio, and Lane Tech with a dominating first set win, 25-5. So just what we expected out of this one. Started about 50 minutes late, but Lane Tech picks up right where they left off on last Tuesday against Lindblom. Just a dominating first set here against the Steinmetz Silver Streaks. We'll be back in a minute for second set action as Lane Tech looks to punch their ticket into round 2 of the city playoffs. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech Girls Volleyball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. Back here at Lane Gymnasium, a 25-5 first set win for Lane Tech over the Steinmetz Silver Streaks, as they move to 1 set away from a first game victory here in the city playoffs. Round 1 of the city playoffs here in the Chicago Public League bracket. Lane Tech, the 4 seed, taking on the 29th seeded Steinmetz Silver Streaks, as looks like we're going to have a almost brand new lineup into the game here for Lane Tech, as we'll take you down to the court right now. It's going to be Olivia Sprinkle, Josie Bietti, Claire Anderson, Maggie O'Brien, Rocky Ortiz, and I believe either Maddie Gavaldon or Brooke Anderson coming on as that number 6 player. So Lane Tech giving some of their younger players all all the new players on the court right now, juniors, some playing time as they hope to kind of foster who's likely to be the core of this team during the 2023 season next year. As we mentioned, it's been a good night for Lane Tech Athletics already. It was a 7-6 win for the girls flag football team over Northside. I was watching that one on the stream as we waited for this one to get going. It was a very exciting game. No points scored in the second half. A defensive battle over at Winnemac in the rain, but Lane Tech pulls it off, and then also competing tonight in the city semifinals boys soccer as the first point of the set goes to Steinmetz, and they have their first lead here of the night. A very nice serve there of, it looks like number 3, Jessica Patino. Excuse me, no, that's going to be number 9, Lena Kielnick, one of the captains and top players on this team, as the Silver Streaks go up 1-0. However, the second serve goes straight into the net, and we will go to 1-1. So looks like it's going to be Maggie O'Brien leading off the service order here in set number 2 for Lane Tech. O'Brien hasn't played that much for Lane Tech this year. However, when she's been in and when she's been serving, she's been excellent as she gets another ace here. So in her, trying to get these stats exactly correct, in her 25 sets played, she's actually 3rd on the team in aces per set, coming in at about half an ace per set, but she gets her first one here, looking for number 2, and almost gets it. Nice dig there by the Silver Streaks as Bietti bumps it over. This one played a little too wide, but Patino decides to play it, and the bump over the net just a little too short there from LaBoy as champions go up 3-1, so it'll be O'Brien back to serve again. It was interesting. Last game we saw O'Brien play in the first set as we see another ace from her again. This one off the arms of number 3, Jessica Patino. But as we were saying, Lane Tech decided to switch it up a little bit in their last home game against Resurrection. They put O'Brien in at the setter role in the first set as she gets another ace here, her 3rd out of 4 tries, and Lane Tech is going to go up 5-1, and we're going to see the first timeout called of the day by head coach Marie Chaparro and the Steinmetz team. It's like 2 coaches on the bench there for the Silver Streaks, and Lane Tech will also take a second to talk things over here. So Lane Tech picks up right where they left off here in set number 2 after giving up the first set and giving the Steinmetz Silver Streaks a brief lead here in set number 2. Lane Tech comes back 5 straight points here, including 4 off the service from Maggie O'Brien, who's having a very excellent start to her day. 3 aces in that run. We'll see if she can add on to that out of this timeout. None of them have been super hard served. She's just been playing them soft to the middle of the court most likely and leaving it to the other team to make the errors. But that's been working, and we'll see if she does that again. This one played further back. Patino on the recovery, and this one goes far to the back. Sprinkle there to keep it alive. Bietti goes for the cross-court kill. Nice dig there off the hands of Vega Munoz. O'Brien sets it to Anderson, the only starter in the game right now, or excuse me, one of the 2 starters into the game right now, and this one just sent straight into the bleachers. A lot of power off the arms of Anderson there. So 4 juniors on the court right now, plus Gavelin and Anderson, Claire Anderson, who were both starters in the first set as well. This one, another difficult play off the serve from O'Brien, and some miscommunication there by, looks like Merlos and LaBoy. They were both looking at each other confused after that one. I just think a little bit of miscommunication as O'Brien's going to continue her service run here. She gets another ace. Sliding in, trying to keep it alive there was Patino, but that one goes under the net. And Lane Tech with a much better start here to set number 2 than set number 1. Obviously, it was not a bad start to set number 1, but this has been, I think, their longest service rotation of the day here off the play of O'Brien. Anderson goes with the soft touch. Thought she saw an opening there, and this one sent too far off the arms of number 14, Anaya Harris. as we mentioned, it's been a mix here today of both very strong play from Lane Sack, but a lot of it's just been self-inflicted errors by this Steinmetz team. As we mentioned, they're a lot less experienced than Lane Sack, only playing 10 games on the year versus Lane Sack team that has played 30, and also this is the highest level of competitor they have played this year, as Ortiz sends this one into the net, gives Steinmetz back their service. Lane Sack has not made any moves to the bench here on a substitution yet. I imagine Brooke Anderson may be going in because I think she subbed out to start off the set just to put the libero in. But I have a feeling Lane might not be making a lot of substitutions here, as Bietti just bumps this over, and Steinmetz will do it back. O'Brien with the back set, Bietti to the back row. This one a foot too long, and Steinmetz with their first run here of set number 2. They score 2 straight points to get within 6, and they'll give the ball to number 7, Catherine Valerio to serve. So we saw success from one number 7 serving, but Valerio won't get it. Excuse me, it's not Valerio. That was Merlos. Will not get a chance for a second serve, as Anderson finishes with the kill, and Lane Sack gets to the double-digit mark here, 10-3. Anderson back to serve. He's been the leader and one of the leaders in almost every single statistical category for Lane Sack this year. Sprinkle just palms that one over. This one played far to the back. Nice hit there by Toledo, but Lane's able to recover. 7-point lead for Lane Sack, and this one pushed over, the head referee says, by Huertas, one of the other captains on this Steinmetz squad. It's been a more quiet set number 2 from Kielnick, who was the top player on this Steinmetz squad in set number 1. They were going to need a big effort from her to try to make a comeback here in set number 2, as it will be an 11-4 lead. Steinmetz gets back their serve, and Anaya Harris will serve this one just down the line. That was a call by the inches, but they will say it just goes out, and Lane Sack gets back their serve. Brooke Anderson checks into the game for Rocky Ortiz. We saw Anderson have that strong run of kills there in set number 1. We'll see if she can inflict similar damage here in the second set, as Maddie Gavaldin gets her first ace of the day. This Giracelis trying to run over to make the play, but with the movement of her running, just goes awkwardly off her arms and hands Gavaldin the ace. O'Brien sets it. Miscommunication there. Anderson was jumping from far away. O'Brien went with the short set. I think Sprinkle might have also been there ready for the kill, but just a miscommunication there from Lane, something we really have not seen from them a lot this year. Leads to the point for the Silver Streaks. O'Brien just reaches over a little too far there, as Steinmetz gets their second straight point for the second time this set. I don't think they had that in first set, and they also only scored 5 points. Now they're up to 6, so a better set number 2 for Steinmetz than what they did in set number 1. Another misplay on the set from O'Brien. Anderson can't reach it. And just like that, we have a 6-point game here in set number 2, 13-7. It's been a couple of Lane Tech errors that have allowed this one to stay close, and an ace there off the arm of number 27, it looks like. 23, Danielle Huertas. One of the captains on this squad, both Sprinkle and Anderson, thought that one was going out. Hits the back right side of the court from our angle, and goes for a point. Lane desperately needing some points here, and they get it. They end a 4-point run there by the Silver Streaks to go back up by 6. And now we'll see what they can do. We'll have a couple of subs into the game. That's going to be number 20, Campbell Wild, as well as Addison Stoner. They come into the game for Maggie O'Brien and Josie Bietti. So they are going to keep Stoner in as a server here in set number 2, and she comes in for O'Brien, who's the other main setter on this team. Stoner had a nice service run there, second longest of the day, I believe, for Lane Sack behind O'Brien's to start off this set. So we'll see what she can do here in set number 2. Back set, Wild sends this one straight into the net, so short rotation here. And once again, it's just these airs by Lane Sack that are allowing this one to stay close. As well as a pair of subs come into the game for the Silver Streaks. Both Patino and number 11, Merlot's coming into the game. The Steinmetz team was kind of hitting their peak. They had 6 straight wins until they had a loss last Tuesday to Disney 2 as Anderson finishes with the soft kill here, her 4th of the night. But as we were saying, there's been a point as of recent where the Steinmetz team has been playing very good volleyball. They fell in a kind of big loss to Disney 2 last Tuesday, but they've shown they can contend in some matches this year as this one sails into net from Olivia Sprinkle, and the Silver Streaks will reach the double-digit mark here in set number 2 as Olivia Crane checks into the game for Sprinkle. Going through all 4 of the classes, I cannot find Steinmetz anywhere in the state series, so if they lose, this might be their last game of the year, as Anderson just softly puts this one over for the point. It's usually every team plays in the state series. I forgot to ask the coach about this ahead of time, but could not find Steinmetz in the state series last year and could not find them placed in the bracket this year, as Brooke Anderson gets an ace here. As I mentioned, she had 3 last game against Lindblom. She does not usually serve for this team, but just goes straight down the line with that one and gets Lane to the 17-point mark here. Back up by 7. Another very strong serve here, and unable to hold that there was the Silver Streaks. Number 23, Danielle Huertas, tried for the reception there. And 2 straight aces here for Brooke Anderson. We'll see if she can make it a hat trick. This one, similar speed, but goes straight into the net, and Steinmetz will get it back, but a nice quick rotation there for Anderson, who comes out of the game for Gavelden, the libero. Anderson's rotation, for the most part this year, has not always been as long as some of the other players, but she's been very productive, as the other Anderson, Claire Anderson, goes down the line and gets the points. A couple of Steinmetz players disagreed with the call, but I think in that rare case, the umpire had the best possible view of it, as Maggie O'Brien and Josie Bietti will check into the game for Wild and Stoner, who have a short rotation here in the second set. It'll be O'Brien back to serve, so she had 6 or 7 points in that first serve rotation for her, so if she could do that again, that would close out the game here for Lane Sack. Sends this one to Crane. Crane from the middle. Played that one a lot further back than she usually does, but LeBoy unable to get under it. And Lane Sack will get to the 20-point mark. Lane's yet to have a double-digit lead in this set. They could do it with this point. As another ace here from O'Brien off the hands of LeBoy. And Lane goes up 21-11, so continuing to be a very strong game from O'Brien behind the serve line. She had a couple of errors setting, but redeeming herself for sure here, as this one, classic ace. No one even touched that one as it heads to the ground. And Steinmetz is going to double up on Lane Sack's going to double up on Steinmetz' score here in set number 2. This one misplayed. Claire Anderson at the front there, and they're going to call a net violation on number 11, Merlos. So lucky break there for Lane Sack. Steinmetz was contending at the net, and we're going to see a timeout called by Steinmetz. Their coach is going to talk with their players for one of the final times, quite possibly in a game this year. As we mentioned, it's one of the shorter, possibly the last match of the year for the Silver Streaks. Lane Sack, meanwhile, just 2 points away from moving on to the city round of 16, where they will take on the winner of Lincoln Park and Kenwood. We don't have any results yet, but we'll take you through the rest of the bracket here For girls volleyball, it was Whitney Young taking on Chicago Mathematics Academy in the 132 matchup. Hancock taking on Lakeview, Von Steuben taking on Disney, Brooks taking on Little Village, Washington Morgan Park, Westinghouse versus Chicago Academy, Lincoln Park Kenwood, and Lane Steinmetz on the left side of the bracket. Taking down the right side of the bracket, it'll be Payton versus Soto, Juarez taking on Sen, Northside against Prosser, Taft taking on Curie, Lindblom against Solorio, Kennedy against Schertz, Amundsen against Agricultural/Science, Perspective taking on Jones. So those are the 8 matchups on the right side of the bracket. And winner of the left and right will meet for the city title next Thursday at Little Village. It's kind of a quick tournament here. 32 teams, 31 will be eliminated in just about a week and a half's time as Claire Anderson softly touches this one over. And this one's set into the net here by number 14, Harris. And that's going to be match point here for Lane Tech, their first of the evening, 24-11. O'Brien trying to finish, and they're going to say Lane Tech was out of rotation there. Wasn't a great serve from O'Brien either. And the Silver Streaks will get within 12. Trying to keep the season alive will be Merlos. Sends us one to the right side. Crane there for the reception. Claire Anderson punches it over. 24-12 here, set number 2. Harris placed it to the back row, but Crane there for the save. Claire Anderson lays down the kill. They say it hits the back line, and Lane Tech takes the big win here in round 1 of the city playoffs. 25-5 in set number 1, 25-12 in set number 2, and just a dominating performance here from Lane Tech on their home court. The number 4 seed gets done what they were expected to do against the number 29 seeded Steinmetz Silver Streaks, who had a good start here to set number 2, but ultimately just outsized in this matchup, and the power of Lane Tech proves too much for them to handle. Good play all around for Lane Tech tonight, especially considering they were without their top 2 liberos here, but Maddie Gavaldin did a good job stepping in. We saw some powerful kills, as always, from both the Andersons and Olivia Crane. Good setting across the front row for Lane Tech, and really excellent serving across the board. We saw some good serving from O'Brien, from Hong, from Stoner. Just very good all-around day for Lane Tech. We'll be back in action on Thursday on the call as Lane Tech takes on the winner of Lincoln Park and Kenwood. That should be a 6 p.m. first serve here from Lane Tech. Don't have the specifics of that one yet. We'll wait to see in the next day or so, but either way, we will have the call of Thursday's matchup here from Lane Gymnasium as Lane Tech looks to make their way back to the city semifinals and hoping to make it to the city championship with what would be probably an upset win over Whitney Young a week from tonight. But that's just about all the time we are going to have here on this Tuesday night. A dominating win for Lane Tech here, 25-5, 25-12 over the Steinmetz Silver Streaks. Your final score from Lane Gymnasium: Lane Tech champions 2, Steinmetz Silver Streak 0. My name is Alex Burstein. Good night.